uncertainty is already not that great in the analysis. So
you don't think what I said is true, that even at the edge, so like if we're trying to look
no, I think that's true.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's a mistake when you do get something that's affected right out at the edge, to believe that you really know with certainty that that's
yeah.
And plus that, with the within the precision with which branch who can do this better than anyone, that's sort of where that's sort of the end product that you're then going on to the next step, is seeing that if it's sort of okays it regardless of how you stretched it and pulled it and whatnot. If it sort of falls within his,
gold standard, if you will.
Branch, right?
Make sure he's not tired.
Exactly.
his own, within rate or reliability is not necessarily that high.
No, it was great at the time where we were, exactly, when we were doing these things. It was at one point great, but really in the real world, no.
So all of these are like an estimation of where the lesion is.
Right, exactly.
You kind of have to take it all with
Yes, exactly.
Right. It's just all imaging, right? Right, exactly.
I'm going to run a systematic, I'm going to run a little program for systematically and also non-systematic distort lesions and rerun analysis. I'll try to bring in the both answers.
So
Yeah, that would be good.
There's an old saying that floats around the internet. I can't remember what the context of it usually, but
garbage in, garbage out.
Measure with a micrometer, mark with chalk, cut with an axe. I think that really is VLSM in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, and tweaking some of the parameters, our final lesion map looked something a little more like this. That's the kind of final output that we had. Let's see. Going to the next step. So you've got your lesion output. The next step is that we, a lot of times, need to quantize. So as we've been talking about with a lot of interest here, is that what's happening at the edges, there's sort of continuous values there. So, but for our analysis within VoxBo, or VLSM I should say, you really want to have your maps be either ones and zeros. And so to handle sort of those continuous values, especially on the edge, when it comes out of the warp, we need to quantize our masks. And to do that, we usually use the VBIM command. And again, I happen to have a file here, just VBIM, the name of the mask, or the name of the file, dash quantize 1 and right, and whatever the output that you want to call it. In this case would be foo, and basically it's now changed the values to that. So if we actually, it was quantized to 1 before. To prove a point, I'll change it to a value of 2, right? Because it's arbitrary what that value is, right? It's just, it needs to be consistent across all of your maps. And if we actually look at, oops. You can see, if you look here, value, wherever I'm within the lesion mask, it's 2, outside is 0, right? And like I said, along the edges, you have this sort of dichotomy of either 0 or 2. Okay. The next step after you've quantized is merging all of your files. So you've gone through the long 7 steps to get here, and now you have a series of files. The last step that we usually do is to merge all of our lesion files into one big file, which is going to be a lot easier to work with. And to do that, we use the vbconf command. Okay. And I happen to have a directory full of lesion files here. I'm just going to back out one level. And VBconf, the name of the directory itself, -o, the output that I want to use. I'm going to say lesions.tests. And essentially that's it. So now at this step, I do recommend using the .test ending, which is which is the voxel formatted file. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. For one specific reason is that Nifty, the headers are small. Did this work? I'm not sure. Did I give it the wrong directory? Yeah. There we go. I recommend, as I was saying, using the voxel specific file with the .test ending, simply because when it compiles all of these into a single file, one of the nice things is in the header, and you'll see this in a couple minutes, will actually list all the files and the order in which they are, and their order in this compressed file. And that's going to be really important because you're going to need to make sure that your behavioral measures and your lesion files map one-to-one. If you do this using the .nii flag, it's going to create a Nifty file, which is the same thing. It's going to be compressed into a nice 4D file with all of your lesion files. However, it doesn't contain the header information, which tells you the order in which your lesion files are listed. And you can definitely see how that could give dramatic problems. So if we do a more on the test file, again, this header tells me exactly, which files went into the compressed lesion file and the order in which they fall.
It's usually alphabetical, right?
Yes, and it is usually alphabetical. And if we look at VBView2 and look at the file itself, just to show, if we scroll through, we can look at, that's one subject. Yep, there we go. There we go. And you can now click and go through each of the individual lesions themselves. Right. So if I want to look at this specific, number 8, I can scroll within these, here looking at the lesion itself, but I can move between individual lesions themselves. So a lot of times what I recommend is when you merge all of your files, do this with a test format, and then you can also use VBconf again to later convert it to, a Nifty file if you so desire, and then use the Nifty file. But this header information is really important. It's saved me a lot of time and effort after resorting. And the last step is running your stats. And that's what we're going to cover next week. So essentially, hopefully we've gone through the 8 steps of, okay, you've gone from the scanner, you've formatted your files, you've picked which method you're going to actually use, Wimbledon or Wimbledon Plus, you've normalized, whether that's repitching or using the warp, you've quantized your files, you've compiled all of them into one single file, which makes it easy to use, and you're now ready for the last step, which is actually running the stats.
Have we got any files that people can practice on?
We can put some files up.
That would be great, yeah. I think that would be great.
Okay.
I had a question too, this is sort of about the homework the first session, you
Yeah.
to ask people to draw lesions.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really helpful if there was some follow-up, people check the homework, we could have some discussion of it, some feedback.
Yeah, we did that last
A little bit, there wasn't much discussion, but maybe we need to do it in a more systematic way.
Oh, that was it?
Exactly.
Oh, I thought you'd wanna put some stuff up and maybe discuss it and really give some more systematic feedback about that. Or if not, we don't have to do it within this format.
Exactly,
Yeah.
I think
I
that
mean, we
would
could do that outside of here.
I think that would be
Okay.
great.
So all of
Yeah.
the ones that I drew are, so like, all the lesions that are up there also have the lesion that I drew. So you can draw it and then check to see what I did.
Yeah.
So that was the idea, and then if you had any questions about after checking that we were doing.
And I think, another,
You can do it more systematically and actually.
and I'm not sure how many lesions did they have people trace? Was it?
I put up a bunch.
Okay.
I didn't expect people to do all of them. It was
All right.
just sort of
So I would say, definitely part of the homework could be, now that you've actually traced those, use those lesions that you've traced and walk through these steps to get to the final value that you're working with. Go through the 8 steps here.
Except I don't think there's an intermediate template on the cluster here.
Yeah, I guess one thing is we are still sort of tweaking the ants script, so to speak, and ants isn't quite working on the cluster, but
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get that here this fall. I could try to get
So maybe next
Steve
week.
or
so
Would
yeah.
you be able to do it next week and then maybe
I'll try to
people?
come early.
All right. So if we get the program up and running on our cluster here next week, then we can have homework for the following.
People
Absolutely.
One month later, but we can expect to
Yeah.
more than one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just give feedback as to when you want that session. We'll plan it in.
Okay.